How's it going, guys? Alright, so Destiny Beta is nearly at an end, and these are my top 5 things that I think need changing before the main game comes out in September. Okay, so number 5, the voice acting of some of the characters. So I did notice in the Destiny Beta that that Bungie did change, some of the voice acting of Peter Dinklage, who voices the companion ghost that we have. Obviously, the minor things that they changed, they kind of introduce this sort of more like robotic tint or robotic voice. So he does sound more like an AI or a robot.
We're in. This was one of Skywatch's old array stations, a link to the lunar colonies. We're in. This was one of Skywatch's old array stations, a link to the lunar colonies.
But obviously the way in which he delivers the lines are completely the same. And a lot of people in the alpha had criticized the voice acting of Peter Dinklage.
Alright, this time we go wherever we want.
That wizard came from the moon. That wizard came from the moon. That wizard came from the moon. That wizard. That moon, wizard. Well, we sent the right team to handle this one.
And I don't think necessarily that it is, the pitch of his voice. It's more the way in which he delivers the lines and his tone. A lot of the way in which, he delivers it, it is very, very monotone. And I don't know whether that was done purposefully, because obviously he is a robot, he is an AI, and I don't know if they're going for that kind of unemotional robotic voice. But Peter Dinklage is an amazing actor. He's my favorite character in Game of Thrones, Tyrion Lannister.
Have you nothing to say in your defense?
Nothing but this. I did not do it. I did not kill Joffrey, but I wish that I had. Watching your vicious bastard die gave me more relief than 1,000 lying whores.
He's my favorite character completely, and he is capable of a lot more, and I felt that they could have had a little bit more character in the voice, especially because he's going to be your companion throughout. So, I think they need to call back Peter Dinklage and maybe have him re-record some of his lines with a little bit of character, a little bit of sass, so to speak. Very much like, think Edie in Mass Effect 3. She was an AI, and she had character, she had flair, she had sass, and I really liked her.
Shepard, your clone has entered the ship and is attempting to... Edie? I'm okay.
Really?
And I don't see any reason why, they couldn't do that for the Ghost Companion that Peter Dinklage voices. The voice over that I do think needs significantly changing, though, is the voice actor that is used for the multiplayer games. And the voice that is used currently is just, he sounds bored.
Zone A's captured. It's yours. Zone B lost. Zone A neutralized.
He sounds so boring, and when you're playing a multiplayer game, which is, it's supposed to be, adrenaline rush, exciting, fun, when you've got a voice actor that just sounds bored, it's so monotone, it's so one level, it just takes the energy out of that multiplayer, and he just sounds terrible. So I really think that they either need to bring the voice actor in, have him put a little bit more energy, a little bit more enthusiasm into the voiceover, or just get somebody completely new to do it, because currently the voice, the voiceover for the actual multiplayer is pretty bad, and it needs changing before the main game comes out in September. Alright, number 4. Some of the multiplayer abilities and vehicles need nerfing. Obviously, if you go on the forums and you look online, there is quite a significant number of people complaining about the leveling within the multiplayer. A lot of people that are, big multiplayer gamers are complaining about the abilities. Now, for me, myself, I like the abilities. I think it makes them unique to Destiny. I think they're fine for them to remain in the multiplayer, but I would agree that I do think they are overpowered, and that they're very, very difficult to actually fight against. You know, if a warlock, you know, uses their biotic key power, their ball of energy, whatever, you cannot defend against it. It's an instant KO. The only character that really is a bit more difficult to use in terms of their special abilities is the hunter, you know, the hunter with their golden pistol, because you can miss, and it can miss the opponent. It does require a little bit more skill, which does make it more difficult in a multiplayer, you know, in a competitive environment. So I do think that the Warlock and the Titan, I think their super move does need reducing or nerfing a little bit just in the multiplayer. Maybe make the range of their abilities a little bit smaller, maybe make the damage a little bit less, or make it a little bit more challenging to actually use it in the middle of a game, so that, you know, you're not just completely overpowered if you have your special move. I also think that some of the vehicles still do need tweaking. On the moon base, the Interceptor still is overpowered. It does seem better than it was in the alpha. It's not as ridiculously overpowered as it was in the alpha, so there have been some improvements definitely made. But even still, it's quite a powerful vehicle. I think it could be a bit easier to try to take down the vehicles, or you know, team those vehicles. But yeah, you could make, you know, their maneuverability a little bit slower. You could make it a little bit slower for them to actually use the weapons, so it's a bit more challenging. Definitely. So I think they can still look at the vehicles and tweaking them and making them a little bit less OP and a little bit more accessible. Okay, number 3, the communications. So obviously this is an MMO, and when you are, you know, exploring or running around the map, whether it's on Earth, you can see other players and other characters also running around and taking on missions and doing things. And I would like for it to be easier to actually communicate with these players. You can only really talk to people, you know, in the kind of multiplayer, or if they're in your fire team. I think that the communications, the comms, should be completely open. So if you're, you know, running around a map and you see somebody in a mission, you can, you know, ask them or request and say, can I join you? Do you want to join my fire team? Should we have a go at this mission together? Or like if you're jumping into a public event, you can communicate with the people and coordinate with the people on there straight away. So yeah, I think the communication needs tweaking. I think it needs making a bit easier for you to communicate with other people. All right, number 2. The fire team size. So currently, fire teams are restricted to 3 people. 3 people in a fire team. I don't know why the number 3. I don't know why Bungie's decided that that's a good number. But I think that number is too small. And I think, you know, fire teams could definitely be bigger. I think maybe 4 or 5 people in a fire team is a good number to have in it. And so yeah, like it's very difficult if you have a lot of friends that want to play Destiny, and you have to kind of, you know, you have to turn people down because you know, they can't join your team. And I think, yeah, making the fire teams larger is just going to be more fun. It's going to make, you know, if you're creating a clan, it's going to have more of an identity. Yeah, 5 people seems completely manageable to me. So I think, you know, Bungie need to increase the size of the fire team. I think they also need to make it a little bit clearer who is in which teams, you know, which people are just running solo, which are in fire teams. When I was playing it, I was on the ground and in the middle, I think it was in the strike mission, and you land, you know, on the ground and you have your 3 people around you. But then I got really confused because, you know, these weren't my friends. They were people I just joined randomly to do this strike mission. We all have the same color headings above us, and we were running through a map, and we ended up like jumping in the middle of another fire team, and it just got really, really confusing. And I was like, well, which guys are on my team and which guys are on this other team? And it just got really, really confusing. and I ended up losing my teammates and then finding them later. Oh no. Sorry I'm late, boys. I got distracted and confused on who was in my team. I figure this is going to be a big problem in the main game. So I think one thing that they could do to actually resolve that is for your names to have a different color if you're in a team together. Say you're all like red, you know, team red, or yellow or green or whatever. Kind of like what you have in the multiplayer where you have, you know, the different teams have different color names. I think they should do that for the 5 teams as well, so it's a little bit clearer who is in your team and you don't get confused like I did. Alright, number 1. I don't like timed events. And I don't like how restrictive they were in the actual beta. There was a mission on the moon that was only available for 2 hours, and it was available on a Saturday. And, you know, in America, it was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, between 2 and 4. And, you know, in terms of like translations of time zones, that was like Saturday night for us. And it was like 10 p.m. till midnight. And it's just really irritating to have a timed event that is only 2 hours. People have lives, Bungie. People work on a Saturday, or people want to go out in the evening and have a social life in the evening on a Saturday, and they can't stay in just for that 2 hour window so they can have a go at this like event or mission. Why don't you make, you know, when the actual full game comes out in September, please don't make these events so limited in time and so restrictive. Have them available for at least 24 hours, if not a whole weekend. It made no sense to me. You know, when playing the beta, clearly the moon mission was there, but I couldn't access it. And that was really, really irritating for me. And I actually missed that event. I went on at the time that I was told it would be on at, and it wasn't. And I don't know if there was a confusion because of the time differences, but only a 2 hour window is very, very small, especially when there are time differences to take into consideration. Not all of your fans are American, Bungie. A lot of your fans are in Europe or in Asia or in Australia, and you need to take into account their time zones as well when you're planning it. So don't do this 2 hour bullshit. Give us a longer time to actually play it. Yeah, that is probably the only thing in the beta that really, really, really annoyed me. And I really didn't like it. Alright, so that's what I think needs to be improved before September when the main game comes out. So what do you guys think? What is your top 5 list of things that for you needed improving on for September? Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, so I'm going to leave this video here, so have a great day, guys and girls. Take care and happy gaming!
Moon Wizard. Well, they sent the right team to handle this one.
And I don't think necessarily that it is, you know, the pitch of his voice. It's more the way in which he delivers the lines and his tone. A lot of the way in which, you know, he delivers it. It is very, very mono. How's it going, guys? Alright, so Destiny Beta is nearly at an end, and these are my top 5 things that I think need changing before the main game comes out in September. Okay, so number 5, the voice acting of some of the characters. So I did notice in the Destiny Beta that that Bungie did change, you know, some of the voice acting of Peter Dinklage, who voices the companion ghost that we have. Obviously, you know, the minor things that they changed, they kind of introduce this sort of more like robotic tint or robotic. Obviously, the way in which he delivers the lines are completely the same. And a lot of people in the alpha had criticized the voice acting of Peter Dinklage.
Alright, this time we go wherever we want. That wizard came from the moon. That wizard came from the moon. That wizard came from the moon. That wizard.
Voice So he does sound more like a, an AI or a robot.
We're in. This was one of Skywatch's old array stations, a link to the lunar colonies. We're in. This was one of Skywatch's old array stations, a link to the lunar colonies.
But